Hey everybody. Today I have a different sort of forum than I usually go with. I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about what's happening in culture, a little bit of what's happening in the news, not so much, and then kind of give some thoughts on uh, right-wing culture, maybe more conservative Christian culture, and hopefully you enjoy some of my thoughts today. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today, a couple of things as far as the media goes. You may have noticed that President Trump is no longer the president of the United States, former President Trump, excuse me. Joe Biden is the president of the United States, and everybody in the United States should recognize that fact. And here I recognize that fact. But it's had an impact on the media and how they have decided to conduct their business. For example, the CNN president, Jeff Zucker, is leaving CNN. Um, you may or may not be of the opinion that CNN is very oriented against attacking President Trump or for attacking President Trump, but whether or not you have that opinion, you cannot deny that a large majority of the time on CNN was oriented towards covering President Trump. It's much more difficult to cover President Biden. He doesn't really seem to do a lot. In fact, he hasn't really held any press conferences. I know Jen Psaki said, I think it was today or yesterday, that he's had um, 40 interviews where he took questions, or 40 Q&As is what she said, I believe. But those were prepared questions. They were pre-screened, and there was no addition to any of those questions to expound on any of his answers. So everything we've heard from Joe Biden has been pre-screened and scripted. Um, it's very difficult to cover that president, especially when the entire corporate media is so in favor of making him look good. There just is nothing there. So you go from President Trump, everybody was interested in President Trump. Um, I believe I heard a study today that said 70 or it was 28% of political news was or interest in political news has dropped by 28% since the last month. Um, and don't quote me on that. That's just a rough memory of something I heard earlier today. Anyways, people like Jeff Zucker are leaving the media because it just is no longer profitable because there's no more Trump to cover. I mean, the dude was a gold mine for media. I honestly don't know why you'd be so anti-Trump if you were in the media because the dude is literally a gold mine. If I were a Democratic operative in the media, I would secretly pray that Trump remained relevant because that's where your money's coming from. That's how you pay the bills. Whatever your thoughts of Trump are, that's he pays the bills for every single journalist in the world. It's insane. Um, HuffPost is firing employees after as well. So this is Laura Bassett. She says on Twitter, HuffPost employees after a year of working through a pandemic that isn't over, excuse me, were invited to a meeting today with the password "Spring is here," where they were told 47 of them would be laid off. They would only know if they still had a job if they didn't receive an email by 1. That is cruel and psychotic and ridiculous. So it's not just big titans of the corporate media like Jeff Zucker. I think it was 47 employees of HuffPost were fired. What is this, today? Yeah, that happened today. So, I mean, they had a month and a half, about a month of Joe Biden to see if they could produce any sort of value. And it just wasn't there. And so the company, I think HuffPost is owned by BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed determined that wasn't it wasn't a good idea for them to keep having this level of overhead expense. I mean, it's sad when employees have to go, but when you're in a famine, you got to cut the expenses. And these people just weren't producing the revenue that they were producing during the Trump era. So, like I said, Trump was their bread and butter. Um, I'm gonna jump on to the next thing. Um, Joe Biden, again, I talked about, he's just a rock, and nobody really covers him. This is Snopes. Snopes is a fact-checking website. So the other day, Joe Biden gave a conference where he was introducing these two female generals, and they were nominated as four-star commanders. And this is a video of him speaking about that.
Thank you both, and I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary for all he's done to try to implement what we just talked about, and for recommending these two women for promotion.
So he's clearly having a very difficult time speaking. The quote here by Snopes is, Biden said, "I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general. The guy who runs the outfit over there." And Snopes says, this is a fact-checking website, by the way. It says, "What's true? A video shows Biden fumbling his words and apparently blanking on Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's name at one point in the speech, although he had mentioned Austin's name a few minutes earlier without issue. Obviously, it's okay if somebody mentions the name earlier. What matters is that they forgot it when they forgot it." We're worried about the mental state of the President of the United States. And if he forgets it, it doesn't matter that he remembered it 2 minutes earlier. In fact, I would say that's even worse. This is my favorite part right here from Snow. It says, "What's undetermined? It's unclear whether Biden literally forgot." It says, quote, "forgot" his defense secretary's name at the moment, or whether, for example, he got stuck doing an extended, quote, folksy ad lib after intentionally tripping over his words. So Snopes is saying, we don't know if this is intentional or not. We don't know if the President of the United States is intentionally acting the fool. I mean, I don't understand how that could possibly be a good political move. The dude was never stuttering for 40 years of his career. Okay, go back, watch videos. He didn't stutter. Okay, he might have stuttered when he was a child. As an adult, he was a competent speaker, just like most everybody. Okay, most people, even if they have disabilities, they learn how to communicate effectively. And I'm not saying everybody, and I sympathize for people that do have disabilities, but this is significant, and it wasn't like this 10 years ago or 20 years ago. The dude's been in politics for 40 years, so it wasn't like it 30 or 40 years ago either. And then he proceeds to continue acting like he just has no clue what's going on here.
Thank you all. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
I can turn it down, but he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He doesn't know if he's supposed to shake their hands, decides not to shake their hands. He's going to walk on.
You've been listening to President Biden mark.
That's not as damning, sure, but it just, this is the President of the United States. And you can't cover it because you want him to look good. And so you got to fire these politicians or these journalists that just can't cover the craziness that's happening in the White House as we speak and sit here. All right, enough about Joe Biden. I wanted to get in a little bit about the culture of the world. Star Wars has run into a bit of friction with their fan base. They have been talking about how they're a very progressive company, or so they say. They're progressive until China wants them to shrink down Finn, a black man, on their movie poster when they want to advertise in China. You know, he's one of like the three main trio characters that we follow in the main Star Wars Disney movies. And they shrink him down to a very minor size in the poster because China wanted them to. So they're all about showing off how progressive they are until it affects their bottom line. Um, Recently, uh, Gina Carano, who plays Cara Dune on The Mandalorian, which is one of the more popular streaming shows on Disney Plus, or it was previously. Um, Cara Dune was fired for comparing um, the contention between, and I'm trying to say this as sensitively as possible and unbiasedly as possible, the contention that we're seeing now between different interests um, to the way that the bad guys of the 30s and 40s were trying to influence people to dislike each other back in the 30s and 40s. Mostly the 30s is when it was starting to happen. So she was saying that it didn't happen overnight, that they wanted neighbors to dislike each other and stuff like that. Um, she was fired for that social media comment. She also posted, I mean, I don't exactly remember the tweet. You can look it up. It's not what this is about, but the fans were furious that she got fired over that, especially since other members of the cast for The Mandalorian had made even more severe analyses between what's happening now and the bad guys of the 30s and 40s. Um, and it was just so hypocritical. Meanwhile, on National or International Women's Day, they post this amazing art, actually beautiful art of Leia Organa. Um, oh my goodness, I forget her. Carrie Fisher. That's right, Carrie Fisher. Incredible character, amazing actress, all of that. Okay, nothing we're gonna say or think here, hopefully, will negate that. Amazing character. But they talk about so Leia Organa's fearless bravery, intelligence, sharp wit. Okay, so she's amazing, and she helped create the world of Star Wars, and she benefited the story. Yeah, all agree to that. Then we go down here, and everybody, the entire fandom of Star Wars is posting pictures of Gina. We got some Padme here. Sorry, my scroll ball is crazy. Gina, 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 Gina. Or no Gina there. Okay, Gina, Gina, Carrie, Gina, Gina, and they're all saying, Cara Dune. We love Cara Dune, and fire Kathleen Kennedy. Um, Gina Carano, Cara Dune, Ahsoka, who I love. If you don't know Ahsoka, like get good. Um, Gina Carano, who you fired because you didn't like what she had, that she had a different opinion than you. Um, Bring Gina back, Baby Yoda from Red Mift. I don't. Naming people is an endorsement. I don't know these people, so I mean, it's just a terrible look for Disney firing their their employee for having a different opinion than what's mainstream. Meanwhile, main like huge people in their company, like huge people in their company, are popping off on social media all the time, making the exact same comparisons that Twitter or that Gina made that she was fired for, um, and even more extreme. So it's not looking good for Star Wars. A lot of people, whether or not you like the new Star Wars movies, it's all personal. But you can't deny that there was a lot of conflict about the Last Jedi and the Last Skywalker. Um, it brings me into my next point. Star Wars thought it was a good idea to bring in a Rock as a main character or as a character in their new High Republic. I think it's a novel, and they can't even post about this on Twitter uh, uh, or YouTube because every time they post a video, go look at Star Wars' YouTube channel. It's blown up with Gina Carano comments. Like the fans are very upset, and this is big because it has a cultural impact on the future of the country, and I think that it's definitely worth jumping into. What I think is interesting is that Disney thought that having a Rock was so good I think they got this idea from Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a rock for the 2020 campaign and is a rock now. Dude is not anything. He's just not Trump. And I think that no wonder Star Wars thought a rock could be such a good character because a rock became president. I think it's just honestly, I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun, a lot of kicks and giggles for me. And I think it's amazing what's happening to Star Wars. Like, I used to love Star Wars, but watching it crash and burn, really fun. People are blowing up about this rock. It's a rock. You can't even pronounce its name because you have a mouth. So you can only pronounce the rock's name if you don't have a mouth. That's what they say in the book. The captain of this ship, which is called, I think it's called the Vessel, another great name. The rock's name is Geode, which is like a ripoff from Pokemon's Geodude. Anyways, the Vessel is piloted by some dude, and like the first thing they say, or like one of the first things they say about the captain of the ship is that he's asexual. Like, wow, great. I'm glad that this guy is so good at like pleasing himself that like he doesn't need anybody else or whatever asexual is. I'm so sorry if that was offensive to you. I apologize. But I don't need to know a person's sexuality as soon as I discover that they exist. That's kind of silly. Um and yeah, speaking of sexuality, I'm done with Star Wars. I hit that nail pretty hard. Um the last thing I wanted to talk about is this is an older story. It's from February. But I thought it was really an interesting story because it kind of goes completely against the values of the people that are complaining about this woman. So this woman posted um, lewd photos on OnlyFans, makes like $1.8 million a year selling these photos. It's absurd. But the parents of the community started attacking this woman and her children, which I'm no fan of the woman. Like, if if you have kids in school and like you're selling pictures, like that's a lot of money. Like $150,000 a month. Never mind. That's insane money. Like I would do a lot for that. But anyways, if if you're a parent and you care about your kids, like you gotta assume like they're gonna be bullied in school because your their mom is posting um is selling uh pictures online to creepy people. um but what I thought was interesting is that some of the people in the area are trying to contact the principal and kick the kids out of school. I think this article may or may not be out of date because what I heard, and I don't have the source here in front of me, but what I heard is that the students were actually kicked out of the school. It's a Catholic school, and so it makes sense to a layman why the kids would be kicked out of school when their mom is selling um, obviously what they would consider sinful pictures. Um, I have a very serious problem with this. Um, I I don't want to be like a religious channel or something, but I do have religious convictions, sure. But that doesn't matter. What matters here is that this school has religious convictions. It's a Catholic school. They believe in Jesus Christ, and Christ did a lot of things. Okay, he forgave the adulterous woman. But he also told her to sin no more. So you might be like, "Oh, she's still doing OnlyFans." Sure, okay. But the last thing this Catholic school should be doing is kicking these kids out, which I think it did. The community believes in Christ, and Christ taught that we should bear each other's burdens. He went to dwell among the sinners, and he told his disciples to suffer the little children to come unto him. The last thing that these people, this Catholic school should be doing is kicking these kids out when they believe in forgiveness and loving people. The kids didn't do anything. And if anything, these kids should be completely loved and supported by this Christian community. I don't understand why you would ever attack children who are innocent and blameless when their mom is doing something stupid. You should do everything in your power to take care of the people in your community. And I think that people on the right, and specifically Christians, often fall short of their convictions. Like, we should not partake in cancel culture. The right shouldn't at all, especially if you're religious. If you're religious, you believe that a man or a woman, an individual, whatever they are, is responsible for their own sins, and that the sins of the son doesn't go to the father, and the sins of the father doesn't go to the son. So and that's like a scriptural paraphrase for those of you who think I'm being sexist with talking about sons and fathers. It goes whatever gender, whatever thing you want to talk about. It goes, an individual is responsible, and their mistakes don't spill onto other people. Okay? We should love these children. We should support them, and we should never turn our backs, particularly to children. Like, we should support them completely. It's obviously a difficult time for them. I just cannot believe that this is something that people are trying to do. Like, you might have a beef with the mom. Your husband might be looking at the mom's pictures and be like, "Oh wow, she's more beautiful than me." That's terrible. Okay, that's a terrible feeling to have in your heart, and that hurts. Okay, should not take that out on this woman's children. That's completely evil. But yeah, it's a long video today. Hopefully you enjoyed it a little bit. Leave a comment if you would like me to continue talking. I talked about a lot of stuff. I talked about culture. I talked about religion. I talked about politics. Let me know what was your favorite topic, and if you would like to see more of that. Like I said, I don't want to be like a religious channel, but I have no problem in talking about religious things, if I think that they're relevant to the culture, or if I see people like these children definitely needed somebody to shout out to them. Have a great night. Hopefully I'll see you soon, and thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you later.